Cryptid photographs and videos are some of the most iconic things to come out of cryptozoology. They've become ingrained in pop culture and have inspired hours of debate. But there's a lesser-known area of cryptid evidence that doesn't get nearly as much attention: cryptid audio. I'll be covering some of the more interesting audio recordings allegedly capturing cryptids in this video. The most famous piece of Bigfoot audio and cryptid audio in general is the Sierra Sounds. It's also sometimes referred to as the samurai chatter due to it sounding like screaming samurai in Kurosawa movies. This audio was recorded during an expedition by Alan Berry and Ron Moorhead on October 21st, 1972. For about a year beforehand, they had been hearing loud unexplained sounds at night, like grunting and whooping. They were at an elevation of about 8,500 feet in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. They were over 8 miles away from the nearest trail when they began to record what is believed to be multiple Sasquatches talking to each other. Here's part of the audio where you can hear one of the men trying to communicate with the creatures. R. Scott Nelson, a retired U.S. Navy cryptologic technician interpreter, believes that you can hear a language in the recording. He wasn't a Bigfoot enthusiast until his son did a report on the cryptid, which caused him to look into it further. Although he states that he can't translate any of the words, he does believe that there is a genuine non-human language on the tapes. Researchers Lynn Curlin and Lasse Hertel also analyzed the tape. They believed that the vocal tract length of the subject of the tape belongs to an animal larger than most humans, around 7.5 feet or 2.2 meters tall. They also believed that the tapes picked up some unnatural whistles. However, they estimated that these whistles came from a shorter vocal tract. Due to this, the paper theorizes that these whistles were made with an instrument or only part of a vocal tract. To better authenticate the tapes, they checked to see if the tapes were possibly human audio played backwards, which they concluded it wasn't. Ultimately, while they didn't believe that the tapes were conclusive, they believed that the chances of it being a hoax were fairly slim. The ivory-billed woodpecker was a species of bird whose last confirmed sighting was in 1944. Before that date, there were some audio recordings taken of the woodpecker's calls, making them unique amongst cryptid audio since we actually know for sure what they sound like. In February of 1968, ornithologist John Dennis was traveling with his wife and another companion near Village Creek in eastern Texas. Dennis then began to hear the haunt or Kent call of what he thought was an ivory-billed woodpecker. The call came from a thickly wooded area that they weren't able to see, but he had a tape recorder on him, so he began to record it. After the call stopped, they tried to find the location of the bird, but it had evidently flown away by then. Ornithologist John William Hardy later analyzed Dennis's recording. He brought up a couple of skeptical theories about the tape. One was that Dennis took a recording taken of the ivory-billed woodpecker from years ago and then played it back and recorded it. Another was that a prankster had started playing the recording out in the wild in order to get Dennis to think that he was hearing a living ivory-billed woodpecker. Hardy stated that Dennis was a well-respected ornithologist who was telling the truth about his encounter, and doubted either skeptical theory. In terms of analysis of the tape, Hardy stated that when you compared the calls to the existing ivory-billed recordings, they were remarkably similar by ear. I'm going to play some of the known ivory-billed woodpecker calls, and then play Dennis's recording. Now, the audio was also put into a spectrogram, a way to view audio levels in visual form. In the spectrogram, there were some noticeable differences. The bird call from Dennis was a bit longer compared to the confirmed ivory-billed audio, and it lacked this sort of higher-pitched blip at the end of the call. Keep in mind that part of the difference, as Hardy points out, could be because the two calls were recorded in different areas, with different equipment, and of different birds. Hardy also compared Dennis's recording to a blue jay call, and he found that it was the next closest match. The major difference between Dennis's bird call and the blue jay's call was that the blue jay call was higher pitched. Ultimately, Hardy concluded that the call was almost certainly either an ivory-billed woodpecker or a blue jay. Interestingly, he also points out that blue jays seem to be somewhat capable of mimicry, so the audio may have not been of an ivory-billed woodpecker, but actually of a blue jay just mimicking one. He ends the paper by saying that, throwing caution to the wind, his ear leans toward it being an ivory-billed woodpecker. The Mokele Mbembe, a cryptid from Central Africa, was the subject of several expeditions to try and find evidence of the creature. One of these expeditions was led by an American engineer named Herman Regusters. On November 4th, he was at the southern part of Lake Teli, an area which had been home to multiple Mokele Mbembe reports. He then began to hear a loud roar in the jungle, which he recorded. Regusters sent the audio to a number of specialists, including sound analyst Kenneth Templin of Borg Warner, animal vocalization expert Dr. David Washample, South African National Parks researcher G. de Graaf, and Congolese animal researcher Dr. Rufum Oko, among others. Kenneth used Borg Warner technology to turn the audio into a spectrogram. Then, they compared the unknown creature's audio to several other large animals in the area, like elephants and hippos, finding that all of them had some major differences with their audio. Interestingly, the analysis also suggested that they had picked up vocalizations from multiple specimens of whatever unknown animal was on the tape, not just one. Dr. Washample said, "I cannot say it is a dinosaur, but you have found something new and different out there." Dr. de Graaf had a huge audio library of various animals, but was unable to match Regusters' recording to any of them. Dr. Oko played the audio to a number of military officials and professors at a university in Brazzaville. According to Dr. Oko, all of them were amazed and unable to identify the audio. Regusters also shared a story from Dr. Etienne Serge Mingalou, a biologist from the Republic of the Congo. Dr. Mingalou had heard the creature's cry and the sounds of it crashing as it moved through the jungle. When Regusters asked why he didn't follow it, Dr. Mingalou replied, "I have not that much courage." The bloop is an infamous sound from Antarctica. When it was first recorded, a very controversial theory was put forth that the sound was made by an animal. Due to how loud the recording was, it was proposed that an animal far larger than any known to man was making it. What you might not know is that there were a couple other loud unidentified sounds in the area as well. One of them was nicknamed Julia, due to it sounding sort of like a woman. While these sounds were the subject of much speculation, later scientific analysis showed that the bloop and the other associated sounds were actually caused by massive glaciers moving. Scientists were able to determine this after comparing the spectrograms of later ice quakes and other ice movements to the bloop. The Japanese wolf was a species of wolf that went extinct in the early 1900s. Toward the end of the 1900s, a series of photographs were taken by a man named Hiroshi Yagi that depict a canine that's often believed to be a surviving Japanese wolf. Yagi would then go on to lead more attempts to try and find evidence of the species' survival, including setting up camera traps around Japan. In 2018, one of these traps captured a video of a deer running, with what appears to be a howling in the background. Take a listen. It's sort of quiet, so you might have to put on headphones. I've heard a lot of different theories about what this one could be, from a surviving wolf, to a wild dog, to a sound made from a horn or another animal. According to Yagi, an expert said that the call was nearly identical to an eastern wolf, a species of wolf that's native to North America. While we don't have confirmed audio of what the Japanese wolf sounded like, it would presumably sound similar to its American cousin. Although there have been numerous searches, besides the photos and audio recording, no other evidence of the Japanese wolf's continued survival has been captured. Time for my thoughts. In regards to the Sierra sounds, I do think that they were hoaxed. The researchers finding that it had a very large vocal tract is interesting, but that analysis is also really old. I really don't think that these sounds were impossible for a human to make. The whistle seemingly coming from a different vocal tract or some sort of instrument is also a bit suspicious. The podcast What If did an episode on this tape where they had an audio expert listen to it. He pointed out that using equipment from that era, it would be almost impossible to get audio as good as the Sierra sounds out in the woods. The Sasquatches were allegedly about 50 feet or 15 meters away from the microphone, which would have made the noise much fainter and harder to hear than they are on the tape. The ivory-billed woodpecker audio is interesting. Listening to it, I really do think it sounds like an ivory-billed woodpecker. One interesting possibility I thought of is that there were living ivory-billed woodpeckers in the area, and the audio just captured a blue jay mimicking one. It makes me wonder how long a blue jay would mimic a species after it went extinct, even if it's unlikely. Of course, the audio isn't conclusive, but I do think it's the most plausible of the audio in this video. The Mokele-mbembe audio is cool, especially after reading about the number of experts who supported it. I just think it's too quiet to really make any conclusions about what's on the audio. Who knows, maybe it's not the Mokele-mbembe, but another undiscovered species. The Japanese wolf audio sounds a little promising, but there's a lot of background noise and the actual howl is very quiet. I wasn't able to track down any more info on the expert Yagi talked to, which is unfortunate. It's hard to tell, but I do think it could be a wolf's howl. I do feel like there's something a bit off with the sound, though to be fair, I've never heard the confirmed howl of a Japanese wolf, so maybe that's just what they sound like. Cryptid audio can be very interesting, but to actually confirm the existence of a cryptid, physical evidence, like an actual specimen, is needed. Thank you very much for watching. This video took a lot of work since I didn't know much about audio going in, so I really appreciate your support. Special shout out to my Patreons John R., Lenarts, Wild World, and Timothy. If you'd like to support me, you can go over to my Patreon link in the description and help me there, and like and subscribe. If you liked this video, I'll have a link to my other cryptid videos on my channel in the description as well. I also recently started a second channel for archiving cryptozoology evidence and other cryptozoology related videos. All of the audio in this video will be available there in full, so check that out if you're interested. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.